What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on the channel. And today we're going to be previewing round 15, Port Adelaide versus Gold Coast at the Adelaide Oval this Sunday at 3:40 p.m. It's going to be a massive game. I never would, in my wildest dreams, ever think I'd be saying that a game against the Gold Coast Suns in round 15 of an AFL season would be an 8-point game. But here we are, 11th versus 12th. It's going to be absolutely crucial to get this win this week to stay in the finals hunt and prove to some of the critics and some of the doubters that we're still in this hunt. But let's get straight into this preview and see how it will pan out. Sunday afternoon, it's a twilight game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a bit wet, I think, in the morning, but could escape the afternoon. So plenty of opportunities for Port Adelaide to get the job done this week. The game is against the Suns, who are pretty decent form, I reckon, at the moment, knocking off the Crows last week by 43 points. And we knocked off Sydney, who probably were the form side of the comp, beating Melbourne only a couple of weeks ago. We knocked them off by 23 points as well with a gutsy win against all odds. And there's plenty of talking points going into this week with Port Adelaide in terms of selection, in terms of how we're going to beat the Suns, and and the outcry of what could happen from round 15 as a whole, because as we know, a lot of 8-point games in this one. I think overall the landscape of the season could be shaped by what happens this round, and with other teams playing each other that are higher than us in the 8, but we're only a game or two games out of the 8, there's plenty of opportunity for us to win today, bounce ahead of Gold Coast, and see where we can land after this round. So it's going to be tough. This is one of the scarier Gold Coast teams we've been a part of. I think, we go all the way back to 2011. We go back to 2019 in the wet. We played games in China, games up at the Gold Coast. We haven't lost to the Gold Coast Suns since that round 4 game against them at Amy Stadium back in 2011, which was an absolute heartbreak of a game, and one that Matty Primus's coach would want to forget at that time. And you can check out this week's episode of Pairs on a Pod, which is actually with Matthew Primus, which is going to be quite interesting to hear his stories from his days of players and coaching. So make sure you check that out on the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel, Pairs on a Pod with Matthew Primus this week. An intro to a game that I never thought I think would be that big. As I said, it's one of those games that I think Port Adelaide can drop. And if Port Adelaide do drop it this week, then it's almost ruling it out that we don't make finals. And it's also pretty much crossing the line in terms of, Ken Hinkley as a coach, where are we standing with that aspect. I think a lot of the wins are covering a bit of the wallpaper on the cracks at the moment of those wins. And I love the fight, love the determination, I love the will to keep on going. And games against Richmond that we lost, the grit's still there, and Geelong for a half, but we shouldn't be in this position in the first place, as I keep saying every single week. But now that you look at the landscape of, hey, teams that shouldn't be as good are good, and teams that should be good aren't as good. Melbourne are dropping games. Fremantle are right up there. St Kilda are dropping games. You never really know where they stand. The Western Bulldogs aren't even in the 8 at the moment. All of these teams are gettable at this stage of the season, and this is where we can take our opportunities and really find something to salvage this season, because we're a damaging side. We're definitely capable of doing things that no one think we can do at this time of the year. We just got to take our opportunities. And this week against Gold Coast, it's going to be one of those games that if you don't take your opportunities, you're going to lose the game of footy quite convincingly, actually, as well. Gold Coast are a very high-scoring side. They're very capable of taking the game on. They have a very good inside 50 ratio. Casbolt and Chol down forward, Ainsworth as well. They've got some talented players that can run through the midfield. We've seen little young Davies do a lot of good things of late. Rouse starting to find his feet. Took Miller's one of the best in the business. Anderson's been fantastic. Flanders, look at these young players that are really lifting the spirits of the Gold Coast Suns, and they've found their culture. And Stewie Jew's done a fantastic job, and I think he's definitely more than capable of out-coaching Ken Hinkley. And I think it's going to come down to what Port Adelaide want to do this week in terms of selection. There's a given. Boak is going to come in after his COVID protocols, and out's going to go Butters. There's your straight swap already. Do they want to bring in a ruckman for Witts? We've seen Lysette in the media this week say Witts is basically the second best ruckman in the competition. Wines also backed that up and said, well, Finlayson has done a fantastic job with Dixon going in there. I think I really enjoyed that dynamic last week as well against Sydney. It created a different dynamic that we have Finlayson who's smart in the ruck. If he's not going to get there for the tap, he's going on the floor and he's doing the ground ball work. He's getting the ball out to our midfielders and he's basically becoming that inside fourth midfielder. Whereas if you bring in a Hayes, are you going to go a bit tall now with Georgiades, Dixon, Finlayson and Marshall? Marshall's the best key forward at our club at the moment. Dixon's still finding his feet, but his competitiveness in the air and on the ground has been fantastic still, and his chasing, his tackling is something you've always dreamed of from a big man. And then you go for the aspect of your medium forwards. You got Power Pepper down there. Rosie's been a fantastic addition in the middle. And do we have another key forward that we bring in terms of a small, or is it Lockie Jones applying that pressure again? And the likes of Dersma, does he keep his spot? Amon, Bonner, these players that have really just started to push a bit up the ground and play a bit more of a forward dynamic in their game. It's a big selection week, and this game could be won and lost for Port Adelaide at selection. In my personal opinion, I'm not bringing in a ruckman. I think the ability with Witts covers the ground well. He'll probably outdo Hayes in the air and around the ground as well. With us, they've got Chol, they've got Casbolt that do chip in the ruck. I think playing to our strengths at the Adelaide Oval and keeping Marshall, Dixon and Georgiades as that higher up half forward type player with Finlayson in that ruck role, it does work, and I think we can apply it to the Gold Coast Suns this week. If it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off. There's other areas of the ground that we are very, very good at the moment. I think our backline has been absolutely sensational. Jonas Alir's found his touch. Cleary's been mega. Burton, Bonner, as I said, even Darcy Byrne-Jones, whilst he's butchering the footy sometimes, he's still sort of leading that cult down there, and they're doing a fantastic job. So the forward line is probably the one key thing for us. If we can score over 100 points or near, I back our defence to keep Gold Coast to 70 odd points. We just have to score something over that. So 75, 80 points. We've sort of hit that mark recently. Our average of the year is 70. If we can hit that 80, 85, 90, I think we win the game. 100 points gets us over the line. Do we have that aspect in us? It's going to have to be a team effort. A lot more goals from the midfield. Ollie Wines is going to have to hit the scoreboard that we have seen him do recently. I think as well that Rosie, I think Boak, and then you throw in, do we bring in Robbie Gray? Has he had enough rest after the last week? Is he capable? Do we play him in the Magpies? It's all these questions will be surrounded Port Adelaide's selection, and whatever happens at selection is how we'll play on the weekend. That big question: do we play ruckman? And I'm going to say no. I think we stick with Finlayson. I think we stick with the duo that Finlayson and Dixon have at the moment, and rely on our midfielders to get the ball out and really get that clearance game working and around the stoppages, because I think our pressure is going to be mega regardless. I think we back up from last week. But it's just about, that ruck contest, and it starts from the middle. Tipping this week is going to be hard just across the competition in general. For Port Adelaide's sake, I'm tipping us by 21 points. I think we're just going to be a bit too strong for Gold Coast. We got a star bloke and Travis Boak back, whilst also, last week looked pretty decent without the Boak and Greys, and it looked pretty promising for the future without those guys, which is unfortunate. Him coming back is going to be mega for the boys out there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what pans out this week. But I'm tipping Port by 21 in a sluggish 4-quarter performance. Okay, Port fans, that is my preview of round 15, Port versus the Suns at the Adelaide Oval. Looking forward to seeing you there. Kids get in free this week, so make sure you and the family, after the footy in the morning, take out the family and go enjoy a Sunday afternoon at the footy. I'll be seeing you there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide and AFL content that will come your way for the rest of the season. My name's Anthony, and as always, come the pair.